Madam Secretary, the administration is recklessly and unlawfully freezing and stealing congressionally appropriated funds from agencies, programs, and services across the government that serve the American people. You, President Trump and Elon Musk, are attacking public education to pay for tax cuts you stand directly to benefit from. The federal work-study program, opportunities for more than 500,000 students who need it to help finance their education. They are from working families, middle-class families, vulnerable families, and they work in order to be able to pay for their education. You've been blocked from letting DOJ access student loan borrowers' private information, from interfering with local school curricula, from punishing school districts for curricula you disagree with, and from stealing COVID relief aid from states and school districts. And there are many more. For as long as you continue to deliberately and flagrantly defy the law, you will continue to lose in court. But let us be clear about who is losing most of all, and that's the children and the families of this country.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Liberty Watchtower, where truth takes center stage. Here, we keep you informed, engaged, and thinking critically in a world that often demands it. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a dose of real, unfiltered truth. Let's dive in. An issue that lies at the core of our nation's promise: public education. This hearing is not just about numbers and a budget. It's about our values, our priorities, and the future of millions of American children. The Trump administration's proposed $12 billion cut to the Department of Education is not just a financial decision, it's an attack on public education itself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and to you and to the Secretary. My apologies for being late. But I want to thank you, Chairman Adderholt, for holding this critically important hearing on the Trump administration's budget request for the Department of Education. Secretary McMahon, good morning. I welcome you to the House Appropriations Committee for your first budget hearing as Secretary of Education. Public education is deeply important to me. When I was a kid, my mother took me to work with her. She worked in the old sweatshops in the city of New Haven, and I know you know Connecticut. And the conditions there were horrific, dangerously hot, unsanitary, mostly immigrant women bent over sewing machines trying to pump out the dresses as fast as they could because they were on piecework. If you know anything about the needle trades, you get your finger caught in those high-powered machines. You just pull back, you wrap your hand up, because if you get a drop of blood on the garment, you don't get paid for it. And recognized her madness, the method to her madness, when she asked me to be there every day after school. And what she said to me is, get an education so that you don't have to do this. My dad came as an immigrant from Italy in 1913, was put in the 7th grade. He couldn't read or write the language. They laughed at him, his teachers and his classmates. He left school in the 7th grade and never went back to formal education. He served in the United States military, served on the city council in New Haven, and always was invested in his community. And again, he said to me, get an education. And he said, if you get an education, you can make $10,000 a year. So the whole issue of public education was critical to me and to my parents as they sacrificed to get me the finest of educations and to allow me to realize my dreams and my aspirations. And that's true of the 9 out of 10 students in our country who attend public schools. And it's true of the stories of pretty much the entire population, of their understanding that what public education means to their lives and how it is the key to success. And I might just say that this budget, in my view, should be described as leaving every child behind. And that is why I strongly oppose your proposal to cut investments in education of our nation's children by $12 billion or 15%. It is clear that your mission is to dismantle our federal investments in the nation's public education. You and President Trump explicitly seek to eliminate the Department of Education, which Republicans have proposed for decades. But let me be clear with you. You will not have the partnership of Congress in your efforts to destroy the Department of Education and eliminate public education in this nation. Not on our watch. We will go over your plans to suffocate your own department and slash our investments in the education of our children and in students hoping to obtain a college degree. But before we discuss next year, I want to talk about what you're doing right now. The American people demand help with the cost of living, but President Trump is not laser focused on the cost of living. He is actually making it worse. He promised to fight for the middle class and working families, but instead put Elon Musk and wealthy billionaires like yourself in charge of the government that is meant to be of and by and for the American people. Madam Secretary, the administration is recklessly and unlawfully freezing and stealing congressionally appropriated funds from agencies, programs, and services across the government that serve the American people. You, President Trump and Elon Musk, are attacking public education to pay for tax cuts you stand directly to benefit from. Congress alone holds the power of the purse. It is right there in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7. Congress, not the president, determines how the taxpayers' dollars are spent. The law of the land is the 2024 budget. We are living in 2025 under a continuing resolution that carries forward the 2024 budget. And that is the law that you are bound to follow. Furthermore, the Department of Education was created by the Congress, and it can only be undone by the Congress. Under your leadership, the department, hundreds of millions of dollars have been frozen, and entire programs have been terminated. Funding for vital research, protection of students' civil rights, and programs that support the recruitment and professional development of effective educators have been terminated. Madam Secretary, if Congress agreed with your determinations that these programs do not deserve funding, we would have decreased the funding for these accounts accordingly. We did not. Nor did we remove funding for the department staff, but you took it upon yourself to eliminate half of the Department of Education's workforce. By recklessly incapacitating the department you lead, you are usurping Congress's authority and infringing on Congress's power of the purse, and you will continue to lose these battles in the courts. You have been blocked from letting DOJ access student loan borrowers' private information, from interfering with local school curricula, from punishing school districts for curricula you disagree with, and from stealing COVID relief aid from states and school districts. And there are many more. For as long as you continue to deliberately and flagrantly defy the law, you will continue to lose in court. But let us be clear about who is losing most of all, and that's the children and the families of this country.
These cuts threaten the programs and support systems that give all students a fair chance, especially those from working class and low-income families. Education is the great equalizer in our society. It was for my family, as it has been for countless others. That legacy must be protected, not dismantled. With that, I will begin my remarks. Foro.
The consequences will be felt by students losing access to school psychologists, counselors, and social workers due to your shameful decision to cancel hundreds of grants for mental health services in public schools. These grants were created and funded by a bipartisan basis of this subcommittee and the bipartisan Safer Communities, including a mental health program that I created after hearing how desperately it was needed in schools across Connecticut. We are not talking about hypotheticals of what ifs or worst case scenario. This lawless and cruel destruction has happened and is happening under your watch today. Turning to your budget request for 2026, I want to note that the administration has provided sparse detail about your proposal to cut the Department of Education by $12 billion. We have no idea where that $12 billion is coming from. A central component of your plan for elementary and secondary education is to eliminate 18 unspecified competitive and formula grant programs, replace them with a $2 billion Brock grant to states, yet at the same time, you propose that we provide $4.5 billion less to educate our nation's children overall. A block grant is a cut. All of my colleagues here know that the states cannot afford to pick up the slack. Your visions for students aspiring to access and pay for college is particularly grim. You take away need-based financial aid for 1.7 million students, and you eliminate the federal work-study program, opportunities for more than 500,000 students who need it to help finance their education. They are from working families, middle-class families, vulnerable families, and they work in order to be able to pay for their education. These are students from working-class families. They're working their way through college. You know, some families do not need financial assistance to go to college, but that's not true for the rest. Madam Secretary, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, you are pulling up the ladder for everyone who has not found their way to extraordinary wealth or even enough to simply make ends meet. What will happen if you get your way? What will happen if your department is dismantled and our investments in education vanish? Madam Secretary, your grandchildren, my grandchildren, Elon Musk's grandchildren, President Trump's grandchildren will be just fine. But it's the children and the grandchildren of hardworking Americans will suffer. And they will fall further behind those whose families enjoy enormous wealth and privilege. I do not believe the American people want larger classes, fewer teachers, but that is exactly what you are aiming to deliver. I do not believe students and families want you to turn a blind eye to predatory, for-profit charter schools and colleges. But you appear prepared to continue to let scammers steal the money and the educational dreams of hardworking families and aspiring graduates. I understand the administration is eager to find a way to give yourselves a tax cut, but by doing so and dismantling public education is indefensible. Your actions are lawless, they reek of disdain for public education, and they are hurting the most vulnerable in our nation. Education is not a handout. Education is not waste, fraud, or abuse. As a leading Democrat on the Appropriations Committee, I assure you that I will never stop fighting against this dangerous dismantling of public education, which is undermining and jeopardizing the futures of millions of children in this country. I look forward to your testimony.